The Green Bay Packers are now rolling once again, and we wonder what's the best way to stop Aaron Rodgers. Welcome into the Sporting News Studios for Hot Reads, your weekly look at the NFL with Hall of Fame quarterback Troy Aikman. My name is Tom Vandervoort, and Troy, after kind of a slow start, it feels like the Green Bay Packers are back to being the Green Bay Packers. Now they head to Detroit to face the Lions, a team that's really got to figure out a way to stop Aaron Rodgers. What is the best way, do you think, to stop Aaron Rodgers? What's the most important matchup to win to slow the Packers down in this game?
Well, the big thing is when you're playing a quarterback that's playing as well and as hot as Aaron Rodgers is, I mean, you've got to be able to get pressure on him and knock him around a little bit. And that's something that is going to be the challenge for the Detroit Lions. They have a chance to be able to do that. However, the Packers are going to be now without their right tackle, Brian Bulaga, for the remainder of the season. He went on IR, so there's some shuffling within that offensive line that has occurred. And I think the other part of it for Detroit, something they've not been able to do throughout this season is, really get off to a fast start. I mean, they have trailed in most games, and they've had to rally to come from behind. Sometimes they've been able to do that. Sometimes they have not, but this is not a team that you can really afford to get behind. So the fact that they're playing at home, crowd should be behind them. A divisional game, the Lions have struggled within the division. I think a lot was emphasized last week in the Lions game against the Vikings and being able to win that game and continuing their hopes of the playoffs. They're certainly not out of it, but in a lot of ways, this is a must-win against the Green Bay Packers.
One thing I've heard about Rodgers a lot, and I feel like I've seen it myself, is quick release. The ball just seems to come out of his hands so quickly. Can you talk at all about the mechanics of that and what that means to a quarterback in the NFL? Because it's something we hear a lot, but I'm not sure fans totally understand what that means.
Well, it's something that all quarterbacks want to have. For the longest time, Dan Marino was really the standard by which everyone was measured as far as being able to get the ball out of their hands quickly. And the reason for that is it just gives the defensive backs less time to react. I mean, for those that watched the Monday night game this past week with Byron Leftwich, he's a big wind-up guy with an elongated throwing motion, and so it makes it a little bit more difficult as a quarterback because you've got to have that much more arm strength to be able to beat defenders with the ball when you do telegraph things that way. And Aaron Rodgers, as you said, he gets the ball out very quickly. He knows where he wants to go with the football. He's been playing within this offense throughout his entire career. So that helps him get the ball out quicker as well. I'll go back to your first question as far as attacking Green Bay. One of the things about the Packers that is probably most impressive to me in the way that Aaron Rodgers has been able to play has been that he's done it without his full arsenal of weapons. Greg Jennings has been out for most of the year. Don't know exactly when he'll be back. Jordy Nelson has been banged up. He's expected to return, but Randall Cobb has been the real consistent performer for them. And so in addition to trying to disrupt Aaron Rodgers, I think making sure that Randall Cobb is not a big factor in this game could help the Lions also.
Very good. Now, from the other side of the ball, we look at the Detroit Lions, and we're impressed, obviously, with the offense and the way they move the ball. Maybe haven't scored as much as they really wanted to this year, but clearly they got a focal point there in Calvin Johnson. Highly talented individual. So if you're Detroit and you want to free this guy up and let him shine, the defense is going to be focused on him. What are some of the ways an offense can free up a marquee receiver like this?
Well, I mean, he's not going to line up anywhere where they're not, where they don't know where he is, whether it's the Packers or anybody else that the Lions play. I mean, clearly this has been a team that throws the ball very well. Matthew Stafford over 5,000 yards passing last year, and the go-to guy, of course, is Calvin Johnson, and so you've got to be able to control him. And, one of the ways you do it is the last thing you want to do is just line him up in the same position where everybody knows where he's going to be. So you move him around, you motion him probably is the biggest thing so that, defenses aren't really able to get physical with him, off the line of scrimmage. But that really plays to what his game is. And he reminds me a lot of when Randy Moss came into the league that, everybody knew that he was going to get the ball, and so you'd put two guys on him. You'd have a corner, you'd have a safety, but it wouldn't deter the quarterback from throwing the ball in his direction because he had such physical ability. And that's Calvin Johnson, only Calvin is a bigger guy even than Randy Moss was. At 6'5" and 240 pounds, people will put the corner on him, they'll put the safety on him. The problem with that is once he gets past the corner, Now you've got a very gifted athlete against a less talented cover guy. You know, there's a reason why those guys play safety as opposed to corner. And so in a lot of ways, you're now one-on-one on a safety because the corner is in a trail position. But regardless of whether there's one guy on him or two guys on him, Matthew Stafford has shown that he's going to give him an opportunity to make a play, and most of the time he makes plays. So unless you've just got guys that are big physical corners or big physical safeties, it always is going to be a matchup problem and a real concern for these defenses.
Absolutely, man. All right, thank you so much. Great stuff this week. Really appreciate your time as always, and look forward to catching up with you next week.
Look forward to it. Thanks, Tom.